So what's at stake here? Of course, Donald Trump has long talked about building that wall, and a lot of conservative commentators in the States have said that if he doesn't do that, his own chances of re-election are up in the air. Let's bring in Brett Bruen, standing by in our studios in downtown Washington. He worked for the administration of President Barack Obama. Brett, always good to have you on the program. What do you think we're going to hear from Donald Trump tonight?
Well, I'm afraid it's going to be a bit of a reality show. And just like on television, he will try to create a false sense of drama and urgency in order to convince the American people and certainly members of his base that this is a fight worth having.
Can I ask you as well, some are already saying, Brett, that this is going to be like the networks giving the president an 8-minute-long infomercial to say whatever he wants and get his point of view across. Do you agree?
I don't actually. I think this is newsworthy. This is a challenge, a monumental challenge for our country. The government is shut down. The parties are divided over this issue. It's important that time be balanced, and I understand that a number of the networks are considering giving time to the Democratic leadership on the Capitol Hill, and that's important. But no, the president shouldn't have the monopoly on the microphone.
What do you think the Democrats will say in response to this, Brett? Because really, it's coming down to who's going to blink first. They have said, no, there's not going to be any money for the wall. Yes, we will possibly give $1 billion and change for more border security, but no money will go toward that wall.
They're going to make the argument that we are funding billions of dollars in border security programs, that there is technology that if indeed this is a crisis, if indeed we are in an hour of a national emergency, then there are more effective, more immediate ways to deal with it than constructing a wall that will take time and a whole lot of resources. The other point I would just add here, I sat on the National Security Council. Unfortunately, there is a cost when the president is as myopically focused on one danger. Other issues are not being addressed, and I think that is a case the Democrats will try to make tonight.
I read something really interesting, and I want to give it to you and give you an opportunity to give us your take on it, which is it's not necessarily that Donald Trump wants a wall, Brett. He wants an argument and a debate about the wall because that helps him and his base. What do you think?
I think it's a prop. And Trump has always looked for props, whether it's names or objects or anything that he can hang his arguments on because it makes it easier to sell to his base. Unfortunately, in this case, he is using the U.S. government and the operations across our government as a political tool. And we saw this play out in the run-up to the elections, where he deployed a brigade of the Army to the border. Unfortunately, this time, the consequences are a lot greater.
You've talked about the wall taking up so much oxygen in the room, so to speak. I'm curious whether you think this fixation, this obsession with the wall, has the president backed himself into a corner?
He certainly has a very difficult road ahead, because if he gives ground on this, his base will revolt, and I think that's what worries folks in the West Wing most at this point. Is anything short of $5 billion is going to seem like a compromise. That being said, Donald Trump is an expert at selling a bad deal as a win, and we only need to look at NAFTA as case in point.
And what about the shutdown, bigger picture, this partial government shutdown? 800,000 workers of the federal government either off the job or working but not getting paid. Now, paychecks are being missed. How do you figure out a way forward in which the Democrats can claim a victory and the Republicans, the president, can claim a victory?
Well, I think this is one of those cases where they will come to some sort of agreement. Both sides will have a process to study further options on the wall. They will, take it to committees, and the president can claim that he got some level of deliverable from the Hill, but I don't think the Democrats are in any mood to give him money for constructing that wall.
We're also starting to see, of course, the real cost involved in this, Brett, and that this is starting to have an impact on the American economy. Every day this shutdown continues, there is a real impact, not only for those 800,000 people, but on the economy writ large. Does that resonate at all with the Oval Office, with the West Wing?
Well, I'll tell you where it is resonating on the phone lines up on Capitol Hill. because there are 800,000 federal workers, there are hundreds of thousands of contractors, and thousands of businesses that depend on federal workers and those contractors spending money with them. I was talking to a few colleagues, former colleagues, just yesterday, and they don't have the money. They're not spending money on everything from dry cleaning all the way through to the movies.
One last thing. We know the president will give this primetime address tonight. We are also hearing he will go to the border itself. Speaking of props, I mean, what do you think is going to happen there on Thursday?
Well, this is going to be, if you will, the second installment of that reality show where he is trying to visualize the threat, and he will be pictured alongside Border Patrol agents. He will have perhaps the installments of the wall so that he can illustrate what he's trying to achieve. But at the end of the day, he cannot escape this point. The numbers on immigration, illegal immigration, have gone down. The notion that this is a national emergency, quite frankly, is a very hard case to make.
Brett Bruen, former White House Director of Global Engagement under President Barack Obama. Brett, always wonderful to have you with us here on CTV News in Canada. Thank you for taking some time today.
Good to be with you.
We're going to have live coverage of the president's address coming up right here on News Channel, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, as well as analysis and commentary.